Lots happening right now. We had an amazing night last evening at Mar-a-Lago, and the good news just keeps on coming. As I say, it's going to get even better. Look at this arc in this chain of events. A Kennedy, the son of Bobby Kennedy, decides to run for the presidency. He decides to run for the presidency as a Democrat to reclaim the party that his father helped build. The mantle of a Kennedy Democrat, one that still believes in free speech, one that still believes in separation of powers, that does not believe in censorship, that does not believe in war, that does not believe in adventurous foreign policy. So he ran for the presidency as a Democrat. Now, remember, all he wanted was to be treated fairly. He wanted to debate. He wanted to be able to go on the stage. He wanted to compete for the primary of the Democrat Party. And hilariously, if the Democrats would have listened to Bobby Kennedy and had an actual primary, they actually would have done much better against Donald Trump this last cycle. But they ignored Bobby Kennedy because he's an anti-vaxxer. Now, do you notice that all the slurs are coming back? If you have a Trump nominee, all of the left-wing slurs that are put on the shelf are reallocated against every single one of Trump's lieutenants. Pete Hegseth, oh, he's a Christian nationalist. Matt Gaetz, he is a firebrand and unable to govern. Or how about they say when it comes to Bobby Kennedy, he's a anti-vaxxer. Tulsi Gabbard, she's a Russian agent. I think that these cabinet appointees have a higher likelihood of being approved because the attacks against us mean less than ever before. The slurs, the slander, the demeaning of what they've been doing against us for quite some time, it does not hold the weight that it once did. So Bobby Kennedy runs as a Democrat and gets completely thrown out. And then he runs as an independent, gets on the ballot in all 50 states. And then, do we have the clip of Bobby Kennedy at our event in Glendale, Arizona? Let's try to find that. Bobby Kennedy at our event in Glendale, Arizona, when Bobby Kennedy endorsed Donald Trump. Now, mind you, it's very, very important to remember the context of this. This was the day after the Democrat National Convention in Chicago. I was at the DNC in Chicago. The DNC put on quite a show. Remember, you are to expect a post-convention bump. That is usually what happens. Your poll numbers go up. You get Americans saying, oh, maybe I can live with that. Maybe I'll vote for that. And there was a post-convention bump that was waiting to happen for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. However, the Trump campaign team, again, they deserve such credit. Anytime there was a move, there was a counter move. And I got a call from them 5 days before. Charlie, would you like to help out with this event in Glendale, Arizona? We can't tell you what it is, but it's going to be huge. Would you like to help with the pre-programming and do your thing with the pyrotechnics and all that? And I said, yes, happy to. And that was the rally that changed the media narrative. It went from the DNC being the number one news item on the planet to boom, no one remembering the DNC. And instead it was Kennedy endorsing Donald Trump, the first ever Kennedy to endorse a Republican. From Camelot to Donald Trump. From Glendale, Arizona on, Bobby Kennedy campaigned ferociously for Donald Trump. Remember Bobby Kennedy's work. He started as an environmental toxins lawyer. He was concerned about childhood health. Now, you might not be on board for all of the views of Bobby Kennedy. However, I am curious if you could tell me what you think is the root cause of the chronic disease epidemic for children in this country. Why is it that our children are sick, fatigued? Why is it that nearly 1 in 30 kids in America have autism? Why is it that 50% of our nation's youth are chronically obese or overweight, and only 3% of the kids in Japan are chronically obese or overweight? Why is that? Well, Bobby Kennedy has spent his life on this mission. This was the Glendale, Arizona event that changed the campaign. It objectively changed the campaign. Andrew would agree. It was all about Kamala, all about Brett Summer, all about the Democrats, and then boom, Bobby Kennedy came out of nowhere, and we had momentum from that point forward. And he campaigned like a superstar for Donald Trump. Let's play cut 417.
He is a great person. I've known him for so long, for the past 16 months. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And he deserves it. He deserves it.
And there it is. That moment changed the entire campaign. It changed the trajectory of us running against Kamala Harris. Bobby Kennedy then went throughout the campaign and did a wonderful job leading all the way to Election Day. And let me tell you what's been happening these last couple of days. President Trump had to weigh his options. Health and Human Services is a beast. It is one of the largest agencies in government. Health and Human Services has a $1.7 trillion budget in mandatory spending. It has $130 billion in discretionary spending. Health and Human Services has 83,000 employees. The total budget of Health and Human Services is $1.6 trillion. This is not some just sort of small, put on the shelf, hope it, it's not the Department of Labor. No offense to whoever gets Department of Labor, but it's not the Department of Labor. This is a beast. This is one of the power sources of the federal government. So Health and Human Services, which, by the way, interestingly enough, did you know that Health and Human Services in the Department of Education used to be one department? It used to be called Health, Education, and Welfare, HEW. But of course, you need more bureaucracy because bureaucracy leads itself to bureaucracy. And then before that, it was actually the Federal Security Agency. And then under the Reorganization Act of 1939, we've broken in all these things. Health and Human Services is a beast. Health and Human Services oversees, for example, they are subordinate agencies. NIH, National Institute of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, the Advanced Research Projects and Agencies for Health. I mean, we're talking CDC, all of them are subordinate to the Health and Human Services. Bobby Kennedy being now nominated for HHS by Donald Trump is one of the greatest promises made, promises kept moments in modern political history. And if for nothing else, this shows that campaign promises matter, that campaign promises are not just rhetoric, that when you make a campaign promise, you are making a pledge to voters. And I can tell you this, that Bobby Kennedy campaigning on childhood chronic disease and ending that should be one of the most non-political things I've ever seen. Donald Trump was getting lots of calls from people that I'm sure were connected to pharma lobbyists and connected to Pfizer and Johnson and Moderna and AstraZeneca. He was getting lots of calls. And Donald Trump did the thing that Trump does best. Wait a second. What did I promise to do? I promised to give Bobby a role. That's what he did. And he didn't just give Bobby some senior advisor to childhood disease. He gave him one of the most important positions in government. God bless you, Donald Trump. God bless you, Bobby Kennedy.